The Quicksilver moments blow my mind. I love watching how you film that. And I know I've seen some behind the scenes footage where he's on the treadmill running and you're making the cheeks go. But when he's running around and people are standing there, like in Days of Future Past, are the actors like Fassbender and Hugh Jackman really standing there? Is he moving their arms for real?
Yeah. He's very often, we do it many different ways. Sometimes we have the actors just stand there, and when he moves them, it'll be a little shaky, so then we'll stabilize the movement. Other times we actually shoot the actors at 3,000 frames per second using a camera called a Phantom, which is a 3D rig. And in in X-Men Apocalypse, in that sequence, which took a month and a half to shoot 2 minutes of film basically, we not only used a lot of visual effects and explosive algorithms and things like that, but we also used the 3D Phantom cameras encased in blast shields flying through physical explosions at 80 miles an hour, shooting 3,000 frames per second. So you could literally see books moving across the screen and just read them on fire while fire is, igniting the air. It's really something to see.
When you see his cheeks like moving, that's just a big wind machine?
We're blasting a lot of air into his face, and it's one of the reasons the character puts on goggles, because it can be very dangerous to the eyes to put that much air onto a person's face.
Now, you have a joke in the movie. I don't know if this was specifically towards Ratner, but I always want to ask you about it, because Sophie says the third one's the worst. There's, at one point in the movie, was that like a joke about Last Stand, or?
It's a joke. It's going to get some reaction to that, but at the same time, it's my way of saying the third one's always the hardest.
Interesting.
But that's just. Teenagers griping about movies. So
right.
It's kind of funny. Brett's an old friend of mine, and there's a lot of great stuff in that movie. Ellen Page came out of that movie, and I had the pleasure of working with her on Days of Future Past. So it's more of a, although I believe this movie is not the end of a trilogy or the conclusion of a trilogy. I view it more as a conclusion of 6 movies, beginning with X-Men 1, 2, and 3, and also the beginning of a whole new possibility, because ultimately X-Men Apocalypse is about the formation of the X-Men, how the X-Men that we knew from years ago came to be.
But what is the key to freezing people? Because there's a moment, obviously, where when Charles walks into the room before he meets with Rose Byrne.
Same thing we did on X-Men 2. Great background players. We hire mimes, and they literally know how to just stop. X-Men 2, for instance, is many years ago, but I remember I just needed to get this museum to freeze. So I just said to all the background players, freeze! And they just stopped. And then I had a Steadicam just run in and out. And out of that, some people are moving, but you do get those precious moments with someone on their phone or something like that. So in Apocalypse, we made sure we had, background players, many of whom were actual mimes, so they know how to manipulate their body really carefully.
I think X2 is probably arguably one of the greatest opening scenes in the history of movies. With Nightcrawler is such an amazing moment.
I want to do that with X-Men 1, but we just didn't have the budget or the time to do it, so we really had those facilities on X-Men 2.
Usual Suspects is a masterpiece. Obviously, I'm holding the stub here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I have to ask you, just
ticket stub from Usual Suspects.
$6.
$6. Whoa, those were the days.
But I have to ask you, the Bryan Singer that was on that set, making that film in 1995, and then the Bryan Singer I'm sitting across from right now, what aspects of you from that set do you still have with you today? I know you're still the same filmmaker, but obviously you grow, technology has changed, 35 is now turned into digital, and I'm wondering, how has technology affected you as a filmmaker?
Technology simply gives you more opportunities and possibilities, especially when you're doing films with large, scale visual effects. And this film has the largest scale visual effects I've worked in. But at the same time, I'm very story and character oriented. So everything to me must be governed. All action must be character based. I always view these as films that happen to take place in this amazing comic universe. And in the end, the biggest, lesson I learned on The Usual Suspects was working with tremendous actors and bringing out things in them that I hadn't seen before. And they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know how the movie was going to turn out. I looked like I was 10 years old at that time. So it was like, it was a lot of, just reassurance that it's going to be fine. And they were happy when they saw the movie, but they didn't know when we were making it.